Hello everybody and welcome back to Juno New Origins, where I finally had a little bit of time to do some work on this problem off camera. I've not had a lot of time for the past little while, so I've had to do basically everything on camera. But as you can see here, I've done a bit of a redesign. We're running a rocket orientation now rather than a plane orientation. I just was never able to get a plane orientation to be particularly stable. This is almost certainly a me problem, not a game problem. But for the time being, I think we just need to throw rockets at this ship and hope that one gets close enough. That's the current idea, anyway. So currently, a corrective burn would definitely be a good thing. As you can see, we have 39% fuel left. This is a heavy lifted rocket, and it absolutely has more than enough power to do what we need to do. The main question that I have is one of dialing in our approach, right? At what point does our thrust to weight feel like it needs to be a little bit higher or lower? And at what point do we need to start a re-entry burn or a braking burn? These are all interesting questions. Now, this is going to have a lot of thrust to weight to it, as it is right now. As you can see, this is our initial booster stage. We had 2 side boosters, and I'll show you the actual craft as soon as we get this attempt finished. For the time being, we are back in the atmosphere at this moment. And I would very much like to change our heading to be like this. I'd like to do some aerodynamic steering, if at all possible. So that's what we're going to look to do. We just want to try to change our steering that little bit there. And as you can see, we have a lot of lateral velocity right now and not a lot of vertical velocity, but that will change as we come on in here. We're heading basically right over the boat, but as you can see, our velocity is just off over in this direction a little bit for right now, and that's absolutely understood. I don't expect this to be a successful attempt, especially as we are tumbling around here. Okay, that's not good. So control surfaces are probably going to be necessary there. Okay, let's pull this back. That tells us what we need to know. So we're going to undo and exit this. Let's put some control surfaces down here, because it's very clear that we need something. The question is, are they going to have to be inverted control surfaces? So for now, we're just going to put some fins down here. And as you can see, this is the rocket design that we're going with for right now. I want some fins about like that in shape, and then we want to have a control surface on them. And I would like, there's no room, understood. Yaw and roll is fine. I would like to also have pitch in there. But for the moment, let's put this in like X4 symmetry, and we would need to position them about here. Now we can enlarge these if we feel like we really need to, and that is definitely an option. I'm going to undo whatever I just did there. Okay, yeah. So we need to mirror this around like so. Change the angling on it to be about like that. And then we can change the size on these if we really wanted to. And that would allow us to get quite a lot of additional stability and control surface out of that in theory. We'll see what that feels like as we are on our way in here. So let's get ourselves in position here. And we're going to put this over here, 75 degrees. And let's put this at about a 70-degree pitch. Did feel fairly good there. So let's lift this guy off, and let's see how this goes with this rocket design. Now, you may wonder, why are we heavy lifting this? And the answer to that is mostly out of sheer laziness and the fact that I didn't want to put a huge amount of effort into this stage. But also, there's the fact that this creates a situation where we have a significant amount of fuel that we would not have otherwise had on the way back in, which I was planning to use for a deceleration burn. Okay, so we can see we're at about a 30-kilometer apoapsis right now. Now we're at about a 40-kilometer apoapsis. I'm going to start dropping our pitch down to somewhere around 10-ish degrees. We're going to be losing our tanks over here pretty soon. That was an awkward detachment, but there we go. That seems relatively fine. And we're just working on pushing up that apoapsis a little bit here. I'm potentially interested in bringing our nose up a bit higher here. Okay, about like that. I'm cutting our engines now. Never mind, we are going to continue to burn out horizontally. We need a little bit more speed here. Okay, so something about like that. As far as our overall trajectory goes, it actually looks pretty good for right now. So that's not an issue at the moment. Okay, let's just lock to velocity prograde for right now. Cool. So that looks good for the moment. Now the question is, are these fins going to be enough to keep us in orientation without trying to flip around like that? That would be the ideal scenario. I suspect they will. We'll find out. Okay, let's warp through this upper atmosphere portion. Not a whole lot is going to be happening here. We have 40% remaining fuel. And as soon as we're out of the atmosphere, which is now, I want to start whipping this around to retrograde. There we go. Because I want to be coming in on the... Okay, we're massively overshooting that. Sure, let's bring that back. Okay, well, that's exciting. So this is, of course, indicating that our reaction wheel in here is a little underpowered. That's not surprising, I suppose. So a small correction of our overall heading here would be there. But I think I still want us to be on velocity retrograde for the time being. So we're going to start entering the atmosphere fairly soon. Let's warp forward a bit. Okay, so we're now in the atmosphere, and these fins should be providing us with stability and control surfaces, but these control surfaces, I don't know if the game compensates for them being inverted. Like, we're coming in control surface first right now. I also don't know, I didn't add heat shielding to this, so that might cause some issues. But a re-entry burn is very likely to be necessary. I just want to change our heading a little bit here. Okay. Just keeping an eye on our overall positioning here. And we're just going to lob rockets at this drone ship for the moment. We need to just dial this in and go for it. The plane idea was neat. I liked the idea a lot, but ultimately, I think it's going to take longer than just lobbing rockets. So we are going to just lob the rockets. Okay, we're losing attitude here, and I would like to get rid of some of this speed here. Okay, something about like that. We're losing attitude again. This thing really wants to flip around to prograde. Even with these fins back here, that's remarkable. Okay, maybe we need 2 sets of fins, one front, one back. For the time being, I'm going to ditch this. And we're going to flip this guy around to prograde if we can, lighting up this engine to force flip us around, hopefully. I want to be at retrograde right now. I really want to be at retrograde right now. Okay, yeah, so this attitude loss is, of course, the problem, right? So at this point, we're going to overshoot this, and that is due to the attitude loss. So let's try it with an additional set of fins up here as well. So I would like those to be along this same line and just right up here like this. So we'd put in a set of 4 fins like that, with the idea being hopefully that'll give us some amount of attitude control. That would be nice. It would be a good idea to be able to aim this thing. That would be very useful. Okay, let's try this one more time here. So out to 75, and I'm going to set this to 70 degrees. And off we go. We'll 2x this. We shouldn't have any problem whatsoever with attitude control at this stage. It's that re-entry where things get real spicy. Okay, so our apoapsis is looking decent. I'd like to drop our pitch down to about 20 degrees here. Cool. And these are now burned out. We're going to get rid of those. Excellent. Keeping an eye on that apoapsis, I'd like to move us directly over to the horizon at this time. Interstage is taking heat damage. I'm not sure if that's this. Yes. Okay. That's noted. So we've massively overshot this at this point. That's fine. I want to see if we have the ability to get this thing flipped around. And a braking burn will definitely be a useful thing sometime around the apoapsis. So we could definitely do that, with the idea being, and yeah, the parachute is taking heat damage right now. We've probably burned through our heat shield on like all of that. I don't plan on going this fast in the future, but I want to try something along the lines of this burn. So that's going to be a pretty hefty burn, no doubt about that. And let's try locking to this planned burn. You can see here we're still having a very hard time getting this thing turned around. It really wants to come in prograde. And I don't, strictly speaking, understand why it's so desirous to come in prograde. It's very strange to me. But okay. So, we're going to want to eventually warp to this maneuver, right? Or more specifically, we're going to want to auto-burn this maneuver. So that's what we're going to do for the time being. So that's going to slow us down and get us moving into an approximate configuration here. But I'm going to want to cut this engine. Actually, here is decent. We finished up this burn. So now we want to do that, and I want to lock this guy to retrograde. I do not want to be continuing this burn. So let's just do that. I do want to overshoot the drone ship here. Absolutely. But I do not... Okay, we can see we are a bit off on our heading here. I want to overshoot the drone ship, but I want to do it in a retrograde heading, like this, so that we can hopefully hold this heading. Hopefully. And then from there, we can position ourselves for the actual burn. Because if we can just hold the heading on the way in, we're coming in a fair amount higher than we have in the past, and that may help us here. I'm going to commence this burn right now. And you can also see we're coming in fairly slowly at the moment, although that likely will change. Okay, I want to drift us out over this way a smidge. I want to do a bit of a corrective burn here. Okay. I think we actually need to be correcting out this way. I think I'm reading this backwards. Okay, now I want to be about here. And yeah, you can definitely see that our trajectory is off. There's no doubt about that. Let's put this on retrograde. But we certainly want to be moving our overall angle of attack, like, out over this way. We're starting to enter a spin at this point. Okay, so this spin means that we can't maintain attitude. This lack of attitude control has been the primary issue this whole time, and that's why I initially sought to put us into a plane. Because we don't really have anything that can give us the attitude control that we want here. Okay. So that's fine. Let's go ahead and lock this on target. We have better attitude control, but I am not going to call this good attitude control under any stretch of the imagination. So I want to be pointed at target, but I want to have our overall pitch be up. Like this. But we're going to have to be constantly compensating for this target. Something kind of like that. What's our thrust to weight right now? That doesn't actually say. It probably says in here, 2.05. Okay. So that's reasonably fine. We're just doing something kind of like that. Locking to the target. And then we just need to get ourselves into a correct orientation, right? This is not exactly the orientation that I want here. So let's try to lock to target again, and we just need to get enough altitude, or not really altitude, but enough horizontal velocity to be able to do this. So that heading is quite correct. I want to put our pitch somewhere around here. Okay. This is definitely interesting here. Okay, I'm going to fire the chute shortly. About... now, but you can see our overall angling is off. So the chute pulls us around. That's all well and good. We start spinning, apparently, because that's a good trick. And the question is, how close to this drone ship are we going to come? Well, we can do a little bit of steering with our engine, but it's not going to be a lot, because we can't really overpower the... we can't really overpower the chute, right? So that's the core issue, is we have a really hard time controlling this as we re-enter at these velocities. And honestly, I feel like what we need here is grid fins. I've not been able to find grid fins in the tech tree. So that's a thing. So see, if we were directly over the drone ship right now, this would be fine. Unfortunately, we're going to be a couple of kilometers away. How many kilometers is this going to be? This is going to be a pretty decent run, but it's by no means a perfect one. So yeah, it's looking like we're going to be about a kilometer away or so here. Now, one thing we could do is we could cut this chute, repack it, and then try to fly up over this way a little bit. So that would mean that we need to set our heading to be out here. Like this. And then we would need to repack this chute. Like that. And reactivate the chute. That's going to get us a lot closer. Hang on. That actually worked very well. Hang on. We're very close. Overshot it. Okay. That's a technique that'll work. We were so close there. Okay, let's try that again. So that technique is effective. That was so close to happening. We overshot it ever so slightly. But yeah, let's do that again. So let's take this to 70 degrees. Let's get up through this nice and quickly. That technique works. Cool. So now we just have to actually implement it. I like it. So let's bring this up to 30 kilometers here. Okay, I'm going to drop us down to about a 20-degree pitch. Ditching those side boosters. Mildly awkward on the ditch, but it seems okay. Okay, now we need horizontal speed. We want to overshoot this a bit. Have it be about like that. And now the question is, do we need to make any corrections? Well, probably not for right now. Okay, so now I'm going to ditch all of this extra fuel. And I did not actually mean to activate the landing legs at this point, so let's deactivate this part, and let's deactivate these guys. Oh, those have to be done singly now? Okay, let's leave these activated for the moment. Okay, So we're going to bring this around to being retrograde. Excellent. We want to be retrograde here as best as possible. And we know that we're going to have to do some alterations, but we want to do this fairly high up. But after the chute activates, we only get so many of these attempts, right, before we lose too much altitude. So that is understood. I don't know if having these legs extended at this point is going to cause some issues. It might. That would be a learning opportunity if so. Okay, I want to change our overall heading to be about here. Actually, about here. Cool. And we're going to need to do a re-entry burn, almost certainly, on the way in here. So that seems relatively fine. But yeah, that technique definitely works. It feels cheesy, no doubt about it, but it definitely works. Okay, I'm going to start up this burn. I feel like we're overshooting this as it is. Yeah, I think we are going to overshoot it. We are slowing down, though. Beginning to enter a bit of a spin here. Ooh, we completely lost attitude there. Okay, so that's fine. I want to arm this chute. So we can see we're about 20 kilometers off, right? And I want us to be trying to angle over to the horizon here. We need to slow down quite a lot. Okay, chute is out. The chute will stabilize us a fair amount. So I'm going to start a bit of a burn here. Okay. So we're now kind of just dragging the chute out over this way, right? And I want to move our overall heading out over here a bit. Ooh, that was exciting. We lost attitude badly there. Okay. Yeah, this is some pretty rough attitude control here. No doubt about that. I want us to have a decent amount of pitch here. Okay, we're almost out of fuel at this point. Attitude control is still the core issue. We have a really hard time with attitude control here. I'm going to pin this parachute open. Okay. So we're out of fuel at this point. This is the only run we've got. I want to lock us on the target at this point. And we're just going to try to steer in as best as we can. So the overshoot is an issue for sure. But this attitude control, it's really, really rough at this point. No doubt about that. We do not want to activate this chute at this point. I would like to nose us up to about here to try to glide as much as we possibly can. Although I have no idea how much we're going to be able to actually glide here. And I'd like to bring us out over this way, trying to steer this a little bit. Okay. Shoot out. Oh, it's a little too soon. I didn't expect it to open quite that quickly. Yeah, without fuel, I don't think we can get there. But this technique will work. This will work. We'll get there, and we'll do it next episode. We'll just have to get the hang of arresting that momentum. We had good glide there. We were able to get a fair amount of lift from our tail fins, actually. And we were able to glide a decent amount. So we just need to, A, not overshoot it quite as badly as we did there, and B, get the hang of how quickly that parachute will bring us to a halt. But otherwise, we're getting consistently quite close. Next episode, I think we're going to get this. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Atala, Andy Magar, Ali Lee, Dark Horse, Xenocyte, Hiro Marutsu, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge STL, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time. We can also use the fuel from that first stage that's left over, so I think we'll get this.